family farms and people who are expanding, and the objective for most farmers with families is to actually build a successful farm business, one that will stand the test of time, will bounce back from low milk prices, etc., and will be able to be handed on to the next generation. So we're looking at it from the business point of view and talking from the point of view of life, the farm, and the people involved. There are three. The first one is the system of milk production chosen and how it is managed, and this is really central to the Positive Farmers Conference this year especially, but also every year. But there are two others, and one of them is that the farm should be run as a business and not just as a way of life or a hobby. And the third one then, that people need to be very clear on what the purpose of the dairy farming business is.
Now, the most profitable system of production over time is based on grazed grass. And it seems straightforward and logical that farmers will expand and build successful farm businesses using this system. Now, it's a system we have continued to promote strongly at Positive Farmers Conferences over time. But isn't the road ahead fairly clear based on that?
Yeah, you would think so, and that would have been my belief, I suppose, until Mike Murphy and myself went to New Zealand last year, and subsequently to that we wrote a report based on what has happened and the experience of farmers in other grass growing areas in Victoria and Australia, for example, in Northern Ireland and in New Zealand. And what we found there is actually pretty startling, pretty eye-opening. It is that when farmers in all areas begin to sort of expand, eventually what they do is they begin to move away from producing milk profitably at low cost in grass, and they drift into high cost systems. So what happens then, any problem, we'll say for example with milk price, then they're going to suffer, and there have been some tragic consequences in those areas. So current example is classic insofar as that milk price in New Zealand when we were there last year was about 36 cents per litre, and everybody was making money, even the high cost guys. And this year it's collapsed and it's back down to about 25 cents per litre. And the average production cost in New Zealand is about 28-30 cents per litre. So there's quite a number of farmers that are losing money. It's estimated that about 28% of New Zealand farmers are in this position. Okay, well this is the main theme of my presentation at the Positive Farmers. And the first principle, choosing the best system, which is based on grass, will be covered by many other speakers. And I'm going to focus on the other two, but particularly on the purpose of why the farmer is in business. So, they need to know this. It's called the big why by some people and other businesses as well. And this really keeps a farmer focused on the best system that will deliver the best profit and the best return on investment.
Okay, Condy, you've talked about the big why. Explain to me exactly what you mean by that.
Well, Mike, a better way of putting it, I suppose, is every farmer should ask himself, why am I farming? Why am I milking cows? Why am I getting up every morning and running this 100 hectares or whatever? And if they get a clear answer to that, it should come out along the lines, I'm farming to make enough money to keep the family in a good standard of living at the moment, and also to build for the future, to cater for their education, to cater for inheritance, and to cater ultimately for my retirement. That to me is the big why. And we had a great example last year when we had Leonie and Kieran over, and they said that was what drove their entire farming philosophy, was looking ahead 20, 30, 40 years down the line, so that they made sensible investment decisions and so that they actually ran the farms to make very good profit.
Are you actually suggesting, Con, that if people actually don't ask themselves that question, the big why, that it's easy to drift into high cost systems which leave you very vulnerable to dips in milk price, such as we're likely to get in 2050?
I'm more than suggesting it, Mike, because it's actually happened. It's happened in Northern Ireland, it's happened in Australia, it's happened throughout the UK, and it's happened to some 28% of New Zealand farmers. And the danger is that it can happen here too, unless people are clear about the purpose. And what happens in practice, you see, is that you're running along successfully, you're milking your 100 cows or your 200 cows or whatever, things are going pretty good, and next thing, for some reason, somebody decides that I need to milk more cows, or I need to have a better feeding system, or they can produce more milk per cow, and a good salesman will come in there and he will sell you this concept. And if you're not clear about what you really want the money for, or where you're going to put your money, then you can actually drift into these high cost systems.
So you're really saying to me, Con, if a farmer who doesn't have clarity as to the purpose of why he's in business, the big why, is in danger of drifting into systems that will put that business and that family at risk, given that we know volatility is a fact of life.
Yeah, I'm absolutely saying that, and this is not just theory.
Yeah.
You know, in Australia there's some horrible situations where it has led to marital breakdown, people have had to walk off farms, there have been mental problems, there have been suicides. So, you know, the consequences of this are very, very severe. Getting it wrong is not a nice place to be, you know, in the long term.
Yeah, when you talk New Zealand, people think of New Zealand as another continent, another hemisphere. Are there any examples a lot closer to home?
There are, Mike. I've been talking to some of the banks there not so long ago, and they're keeping it nice and tight. But there are examples in Ireland, but particularly in Northern Ireland. There are farmers up there who are going to suffer tremendously over the next year or so because milk prices have tumbled in New Zealand. It is highly likely they will tumble in Ireland next year. And farmers up there who are producing milk at very, very, very high cost are going to be in serious trouble.
Once effectively in Northern Ireland they're quota free since about 95. Did it change their operations, or was it for the better or for the worse? Have people made the right choices?
No, Northern Ireland is slightly different to the south because it's tied in with the UK and the UK pricing system. But basically they drifted very quickly away from grazed grass. They became Holsteinised, they bought into Holstein genetics, and in order to feed those animals properly, they had to sort of produce more silage, they had to feed higher levels of concentrates. We're talking about 2.5 tonnes per cow. I don't exactly know what precisely the cost of production are in Northern Ireland, but they're somewhere around sort of 28-30 cents per litre, and milk price is over that, but it's going to go below that. Now, the other thing that's happened in Northern Ireland is that, and this is a problem with family farms in particular, is that you can run with that for a while as a family, because first of all, you won't take on any extra labour, you're going to work harder, your wife will work harder, the kids will work harder, and they'll be spending little or nothing on themselves. No holidays, all this kind of stuff. That just doesn't last, that will break at some stage.
I was pretty horrified the last time I talked to a group in Northern Ireland that they agreed, we'll say that on average they worked 85 hours a week, every week of the year. That was the average. And about 3% of them said they were making satisfactory profits. And they're very vulnerable. They're very vulnerable to a dip in prices, such as looks likely in 2015.
Absolutely, and the purpose of my paper at the conference, and we're big into this in the Positive Farmers, as you well know, is to help people go down, choose the right path that will allow them to sort of have a comfortable lifestyle, be safe, have enough money to live on and for the future, and to avoid the risks that the high cost production entails.
I'd probably make the comment, farmers I've known for the last 45 years will say that the people who are very clear in the purpose of why they're farming tend to have much better results and a much happier result for families than if they're not clear on the purpose, the big why.
Yeah, absolutely no doubt about it. I think that's the central message we want to get across. And what I will be hopefully asking people to do even on the day, I will ask for a show of hands. How many of you know why you are farming? And if you can say yes, that's great. If you can't say yes, then you need to be answering that question very seriously.
Would you suggest, Con, that every farming couple, husband and wife, should actually write down, if you like, would say that maybe even a page or less would say exactly what's most important to them in life?
Absolutely, that would be a key. I'll call that a mission statement.
Yeah.
I think that would be very beneficial for farm families.
Simple exercise. Maybe everybody who's seen this should actually do that exercise. Thanks very much, Con.